at lovedreamingpeach.com.
How are you? I'm going to scooch over just a little. Happy Monday. It's Monday, June 9th, and it is 8:28 a.m. Karen Read trial starts again. Day 29.
Permission to display?
Yes.
Does that appear to be the right arm of Rescue Randy as he's face down?
Yes.
Is that following the impact?
Yes.
Do you see any? Were you shown this photograph by Mr. Brennan on cross-examination?
No, I was not.
Can we highlight the right sleeve just above and to the left?
So this is from today. I just popped in to do a very quick screen recording. I see Dr. Wolf from ARCA is continuing to be questioned. Direct exam with Alan Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Under questioning.
So it's a rainy Monday and I have work to do. I'll get back to this. So I have a ton of client work to do, like a ton. I said I was going to do it over the weekend, and I ended up spending the entire Saturday finishing that video that I posted last. And then yesterday, which was Sunday, I spent some of the day with my sister at this thing that she was at, and I got some cute bracelets, and then we went to her house a little later so my niece could brush out the knots in my kids' hair. So anyway, I ended up not doing the client work that I thought I was going to do. And so I have to focus on that. So what I really wanted to do this morning was to make a video to say, hey, my lovely subscribers, my lovely peaches, how are you? I have tons of Karen Read videos from this trial and last trial if you want to go back and compare my opinions, compare what was covered. There were a lot of witnesses that were called in the first trial that have not been called, which may or may not be called in the rebuttal. So the judge alluded to the fact that trial may be over before Friday. And if that's the case, this may be the final week of trial, and then deliberation starts. So, you know, if they wrap it up before the end of the week, the jury could potentially go into deliberation before Friday or on Friday, or maybe it'll be early next week. So I am going to be watching trial, and I'm definitely going to cover the highlights, the lowlights, and I accidentally deleted. So in my last video, I was saying how I had 2 days worth of little screen recordings that I had recorded from that day, plus comments that I had made in chunks throughout the day. And I did that for 2 separate days of trial, but the videos were like in my gallery. And then I worked on that other huge video that I actually put out, the one that is titled Guilty Despite Karen Read's Astroturfing Campaign, and ARCA witness Dr. Daniel Wolf proves beyond a reasonable doubt, beyond any doubt in my mind, that video. And when I did that video, I was saying I have these other videos that I might do, I might not get to because I have so much work to do. Anyway, I went through my phone and I accidentally deleted all that stuff for whatever reason. Not at the moment when I did that, because normally after I do a video and I save it and I've shared it, I go through my phone and I just delete all the little clips. And I did that not realizing, oh wait, I had like 2 days worth of videos and stuff. But I'm actually fine with it because, like I said, I have so much to do to get paid and survive and pay the bills, and, you know, keep my house clean and all that stuff, that I kind of had a feeling I wasn't going to have a chance to get to those videos. So anyway, I still believe that Karen Read is guilty. I've done even more research into what astroturfing is, and specifically the astroturfing campaign that this trial has generated. And I cannot say definitively, I believe they're going to try to prove this in court, but from the research that I have done, it does appear as if Aiden Kearney, Turtle Boy, was actually hired by Karen Reed and her defense team specifically to create an astroturfing campaign that focused around the idea that Karen Reed was framed, that all the witnesses are in on it, that Karen is innocent, that they are guilty, and they're covering it up. And every little bit of these like moments where I said, that's a little nugget of information, call that A. And then the defense leaping to their wild conclusion is Z. And all the freaking information and data and corresponding facts and evidence and corroboration and witness testimony, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that would be like from B to Y. Not there, missing. And that these Karen Reed freaks hear A and they immediately believe Z, and they don't need any evidence or proof in there. And so what I've learned is that Aiden Kearney was talking to Karen they have like 40 hours of conversations. He spoke to like all of the defense attorneys at various times. I think there's like over 50 hours or something like that of communication. There was signal chat, communications deleted, and there was apparently Karen Reed was armed with all kinds of information, personal data about all of the various witnesses that she took to Turtle Boy and said, let's use this information. We're going to dox these witnesses. We're going to tell their name. We're going to say where they live. We're going to say their phone numbers. We're going to lie and say that they're lying. We're going to say that they're covering up. We're going to say that they're corrupt and all these things, which is why Turtle Boy was arrested and has pending trials, which may land him in jail for 10 years for witness intimidation, evidence tampering, all this fucking corrupt shit. And isn't it ironic that the man who is spearheading this campaign, claiming that all of Canton is corrupt and doing a cover-up and a frame job, he's actually the one who is corrupt, lying and framing people, and trying to cover up the truth with Karen's freaking cooperation. I've seen people say him and Karen are best friends. There was like, people were questioning was Karen and Turtle Boy romantic? But from what I've researched, it appears, no, they're not romantic. No, they're not best friends. He is a hired gun who spearheaded this Free Karen Reed movement, wearing the pink shirts with the signs everywhere, being aggressive, lying about all the witnesses, pouring out these fabricated, fantasy, delusional story plot lines, deflecting from the truth. And I do believe that Karen is going to face additional charges once she's convicted of this, which I do believe she will be, unless a Free Karen Reed fanatic infiltrated the jury, which hopefully they were intelligent enough to vet them out, to get them out of there. But if somebody is really intent and good at it, they may be able to slip through with their agenda. But that's kind of the risk in every single trial that has ever existed, that there could be a rogue jury member or, a plant or somebody who, whether they're fanatical or they're being paid or they're corrupt or whatever the case is. But I think that doesn't happen as often as some people think it does, but maybe I'm the one who's naive. So I've also officially unsubscribed from the lawyer who, makes me sad, because for a couple of years that was part of my entertainment, even though I realized, I'm not going to name names because I'm not about that life, even though I named their names a million times. You could probably figure it out. But I remembered, oh yeah, when this particular creator was following the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation trial, I remembered how it was so obvious to me and many people for so long into the trial that Johnny Depp was an innocent victim of this disgusting, histrionic, borderline personality, narcissistic person who may have narcissistic personality disorder, who was a liar, a user, who had plotted for like 2 years to use this man to destroy him, to steal his money, all this stuff. And it was like documented. It was so horrible. And everything that was coming out made it so beyond obvious that Johnny Depp was a victim to this disgusting, woman and her friends. And I remember now how I was so far into the trial and waiting, like, why will this creator who claims to be an unbiased lawyer, why will she not acknowledge that Johnny Depp is a victim? And I remember her clinging desperately to the oh, I'm just being neutral and playing both sides kind of thing, when it was like everybody knew that he was innocent. Everybody knew that Amber Heard had used him and abused him. And it took this person so long to get on board. It was almost as if she waited until she literally had no choice because it was so obvious. And she would have been the only person still holding out saying, no, he's not a victim of this. And, but again, at that time, I had only just started to follow trials. I didn't understand a huge amount of it, and I wasn't at all ready to like dive in and just watch them by myself. And I didn't want to just watch them by myself. But over the last 2 years, that has shifted so much to the point where the last few trials I did watch on Law and Crime. I did not watch with a commentator in the corner making their comments. I did realize, you know what? This person is biased, and every time she sighs or rolls her eyes or makes a snide comment or throws out her opinion about how bad the prosecution is, she is inflaming this chat. She is completely influencing a chat. She's got close to 1 million followers now. And what originally seemed like a really nice chat section where you could say what you think and there would be honest discourse, honest debate, a lot of opinions coming out into the chat. And in this particular case, I noticed with a fury that what very skewed and strong began happening was that it was like all pure free Karen Reed comments. And people like me and my voice and my dissent and my saying, no, I don't believe that she's innocent. No, I'm not believing this conspiracy lies. No, I don't think that witness was a liar. No, I don't think that witness didn't seem credible. I do think that witness seemed credible. I believe that witness. I believe this evidence that the prosecution is putting forward. And her comment section, as well as her comments, were in opposition to that. Oh God, everything the prosecution does is shady. Look at how he answered. Look at how he asked that question. Look at his tone of voice. Like literally ripping apart the prosecution and uplifting the defense in every single instance. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And like I said, Jennifer, thank you again. Jennifer Rigby, I think, had commented on one of my videos saying that this person is a grifter. And I was like, no, I'm defending her. And I've said this already in another video, like, oh no way. And then I started to really think about it, and I went back and I was like, let me get a glimpse. Let me go to one of the most recent days of trial, and I'm not going to just watch the whole thing, but I'm going to like jump in at random moments in this 8-hour stream to get a sense of what she's saying. And my God, she is so biased. She might as well be a paid shill for the defense. That's why I unfollowed, because I'm like, I did not come here to be astroturfed into a freaking Free Karen Reed movement channel, okay? And, you know, I don't know. I suspect on one hand, it might be, well, one thing I realized yesterday was that it seems like all of the Free Karen Reed people, all of these so-called lawyers, I mean, there are lawyers, but all of these lawyers who are so-called unbiased that are Free Karen Reed, I've noticed something. They're all white. Does that mean anything? I don't know. But there is a tendency for a certain kind of people, white creators, white people, who see a blonde white woman, a wealthy blonde white woman with the boo-hoo-hoo, no tears, and like you believe her despite all fucking evidence to the contrary. And so it's really giving white privilege or white crocodile tears privilege or rich white blonde lady, or I don't know what's going on here. Like, you think this woman is attractive? Like, I don't get it. I can't be fooled by that. Those outer things that make some people so willing to give this woman every reasonable doubt beyond any kind of reasonable doubt. Whereas another woman, a woman of color perchance, would never get this kind of grace, and people bending themselves into pretzels to claim that 60 plus people are lying to frame this one little petite woman. I don't know. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if this many people have truly gone mad. I don't know if, what I also started to think last night is that, you know what? It appears that 80% of the chat is pro-Karen. And that seems huge. But then it occurred to me yesterday, in the first trial, she had hundreds of pro-Karen protesters outside the courthouse. They literally had to make them move down a little bit for the safety of witnesses and people coming to the trial, the victim's family and friends and everything like that. And this time, none of that is happening. Yeah, there's a few people out there, oh, Karen, I love you! But it is nothing to the scale of what it was before. And so what I started to think yesterday was that it's not that there's 80% of the people in this huge pool who believe that she's innocent, but rather the pool is so small now. And the legitimate people like me who are truly interested in this trial, who are watching gavel to gavel, all the evidence, all the testimony, all the questioning, sidebars, all that stuff, motions, after the jury's out of the room, listening to what they're talking about, all of it, and making critical thinking opinions based on the evidence, not based on salacious stories, not based on people claiming that everybody's a liar, not based on Turtle Boy's, campaign, not based on gossip and things that Karen Reed says on the court steps when she comes out every day, but she seems like she's unwilling to testify on her own behalf. And no, you do not have to testify even if you're innocent. And just because you don't testify does not mean that you're guilty. However, the contradiction of getting on the court steps after trial every day and spewing your fucking hate and calling people liars and all that stuff, but then you won't get up to testify, that is fucking shady. Okay? If you're innocent and you want the evidence to speak for itself, then shut the fuck up and let that happen. But when you go out on the steps and you answer questions in front of all of these cameras, and you spew any uncontested nonsense you want to, you're not under oath, There's nobody to cross-examine you. There's nobody here to impeach you. There's nobody pulling up what you said the last time. There's nobody pulling out your transcript from what you said at the deposition or this or that night or all that stuff. And you can say whatever you want uncontested. That is fucking shady, okay? That is not, in my opinion, the behavior of an innocent woman who wants to clear her name. If you want to clear your name, you either shut the fuck up and let the evidence and the witnesses speak the truth and you testify, or you shut the fuck up and you don't be out on the streets talking bullshit. That's my opinion. I find it shady. And then these people are like, this woman is she's out to save her life. Like, no, bitch. She's out here fucking lying on what she did to John O'Keefe. She is desperate to keep her ass out of jail and to lie on everybody and their fucking mother. So anyway, these are my thoughts. That's what I wanted to get out today because it is 8:49 at the moment a.m. Trial is starting. I am going to get on to my project for my job and I will be watching trial. I'm going to start later so I can fast forward, and I will be putting out videos this week. I just don't know exactly when. I'm certainly not going to do a video every day. And again, thank you so much for joining, for subscribing. I really appreciate you being here. I love the comments. Paula, Steven, Jimbo, Jennifer, you guys have been wonderful commenting and engaging, and I really appreciate that. Thank you to anyone else who I haven't named, and I really appreciate you being here. And I am getting anxious for the end of this trial. I would really, really like to see justice, which I believe, for my opinion, I believe that justice is going to be Karen Reed gets found guilty on all 3 counts and sentenced to life in prison. My sister made this one, by the way. The others I bought this from her too, but she made this one and I got these. Isn't it pretty? Look at my bracelets where I talk about a woman going to prison for life. I think she's a danger to society. I think that she did a horrible, evil thing. And I think that if she had taken accountability for the very night that it happened, like I've said in every video lately, if she had just stayed her ass in that fucking mental hospital section and said, I think I hit him. Ah! There's some people who are saying like, oh, she could have been done by now, which I don't believe she could have been done by now. It's only been 3 years. And I don't think she would get 3 years only for manslaughter. I mean, that is insane. But I do think that she could have got, let's say, 10 years sentence with house arrest with the possibility of parole in 5 years so that she could do her time at home with an ankle monitor. But, you know, to me, house arrest is, I mean, it's not anywhere near like being free, but it's certainly an entire world away from being in a fucking prison. Now there's no going back. There's no undoing what's been done. There's no reversing it so she can go back to getting a plea deal. There's none of that. Because in order to get a plea deal, you would need to admit what you did. And you would need to be sorry. And you would need to take accountability. And you would need to be honest. But instead, she said, let me take my shot at freedom by destroying other people's lives. And if I can fucking destroy their lives enough and convince enough people that all of them are horrible, terrible, evil, cruel criminals, I can get out free. And that is despicable. Not only did she kill this man who was so impactful and needed in so many people's lives, and so many people are so devastated and will be devastated, like lifetime kind of devastation. And she would rather destroy them even further, lie and call them murderers and co-conspirators and frame job and putting an innocent woman away and corrupt and all this stuff. She would rather do that than take accountability. That bitch is dangerous, and she should be in prison, because if this is how she would behave in this situation, God knows what else she would do and who else she will end up hurting. So those are my thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to hit that bell, the notification, so that when I do drop a new video, you get the notification right away and you never miss my newest, latest, and greatest. Mwah! See you later. Bye.